If you are a project manager and you have been given the task to implement a data science project, then this video is for you. In the 10-minute video, we will understand the flow of a data science project, and we will also use the Excel to create the timeline and the tasks for each of the activities. We will also see that how we can make the use of Excel to create the Gantt chart. Let's directly deep dive into understanding the project implementation of the data science project. So before we jump into the project planning stage, let us understand the flow of any data science project. So broadly, this flow is divided into two parts. First is the data extraction part, and second is the machine learning and the BI part. BI is business intelligence. So for any data science project, it is important to understand that what is the business problem, and then for that business problem, what is the objective of the business problem, and then what is the success criteria. And then ultimately, we need to prepare a project plan. So this is the flow of a data science project. So basically, it is divided into two parts. One is the ETL process, which we call extract load transform, or extract transform or load. And second part is the machine learning part and the visualization part. So let us understand briefly about this. So once we have the business problem, we need to get the data sources. And once the data sources are identified, we need to create a ETL process or ELT process to start loading the data from the data sources into the data lake, and from data lake into staging, and the staging into data warehouse. Now, what is data lake? A data lake stores the data in a object file, which is a raw data. And the data lake can store your images, video, and it can also store the structured data like in the form of a table and column, CSV file, Excel file, etc. Now, staging is an environment, is a place where we convert the data from your Excel file, CSV file, or Avro JSON file into a structured data. And from staging, based on the transformation logic, based on the use cases, we move the data from staging into data warehouse. Now, this part, these four blocks are part of your ETL process. And this is very important before we start machine learning, because machine learning ultimately needs a historical data. Now, this data warehouse or staging can be the source of a machine learning, and for visualization, data warehouse is the source. So once machine learning has been deployed into production and once visualization has been created, then it is time for the model monitoring. So model monitoring is a stage where we understand, where we take the feedback from your business user, how the model is performing. If there is a deviation in the machine learning model, then we need to again retrain the model so that it keeps on giving value to the client. Let us now create the timeline. So what is my current date? So we can use the formula today and then bracket close, and the format we can put format painter and click it here. Okay. And what is the week? So to calculate the current week, you need the formula, which is current date minus project start date, and then put the closing bracket and divide by 7. So this gives you week 3, and then click on the format cell, go to custom, and let's say rate. So W, and then you can have a hash and 3. Okay, so this is week 3. If you don't want space, so again, we don't want space. It doesn't look nice, so I just remove space. So week 3. Let's put some background colors so it look good. So I can use this color and then white, and then you can bold it. So now, what are the elements in the project timeline? So the first element we can take as task ID, task name, and project start date, end date. Remember that start date and end date is actually the baseline date. And when you do the actual project tracking, you have to create two more columns as the actual start date and actual end date. So for now, let us take the start date and end date as the baseline date. So I can name it as a baseline start date and copy baseline end date. You can put the resources also that, and you can tag each of the resources like R1 belongs to Steve, R2 belongs to Zeri, R3 maybe Arvind, something like that. So, and then your progress, this will be your percentage of the completion. And from here you can plot like week 1, week 2. Okay, so this we are adding for the Gantt chart, so later we can add. Okay, and then let us give the background colors so it looks good, make it more professional. Okay, so task ID 1. So as we saw just before that our data science project will be divided into two parts. One is the ETL part, or let's say ELT part, and second will be the machine learning and the visualization part. So our immediate tasks, so before we go into even ETL or ELT, okay, so we have to go for the requirement gathering. So under the requirement gathering stage, we have business requirement document, then we have the functional specification document creation, then data modeling. Okay, so I'll put your business requirement. Business requirement document come from the business team. Basically, in this you can see the business objective and what is the success criteria. While the functional specific document is actually prepared by the data analyst or solution architect or technical analyst, so that it becomes a common reference point for the development team and for the business users. Then we have the design documents, then data model. So the requirement gathering is the main task and these are the sub-tasks. So what we can do, we can right align using this arrow so that it looks as a subtask. Okay, now the second part is your ETL or ELT. So this is my main task, so I can align it to right. So under this we have the data source identification, then your pipeline creation for data lake, then your pipeline creation for data lake, then we have a pipeline creation from data lake to staging, and then from staging to target data warehouse. So let's rename to staging, and then you have the target DWH here refers to data warehouse. Now finally, once this part is completed, we can create the timeline for machine learning. Okay, so the first part is the feature engineering. Second part is your EDA. We call it as the extra polarity and data analysis. Then we need to divide the data into training and test data. Usually it is 70 to 30%, 80 to 20%. Well, it depends on the use cases. And sometimes I have seen the projects where the test and training data is only 95 or 5%. So split train and test data. Then model training, model testing, which we can call it as the evaluation also, and then model deployment. The next part is the visualization. So apart from the machine learning, we might have cases where we need to do a visualization, especially for the extrapolation data analysis and for some of the use cases. Now for visualization, there are various tools in the market like Power BI, ClickSense, Looker Studio, and Tableau. So, in the visualization, create reports or dashboards. This is for the business insight. Okay, need to correct. UAT, and then this also need to undergo UAT. And finally, we will have the production deployment. Let us do the right align. All right. So now what we have done so far, we have listed down all the activities that is needed for a data science project. Now this activity depends on the organization to organization. So what we have listed down, what I have listed down is, now this activity depends on organization to organization. Right now what we have listed down is some high level activities. Definitely it can be changed. Okay, now let us plot the baseline start date. So as we mentioned, our project started 1st September. So our start date, I'll put equal to 1st September. And the baseline end date, now here a project manager along with his team has to decide that what is the number of days it needs to deliver all these tasks. Okay. So what I can do, I can apply the formula work day. So this will exclude your weekends and put C8. Let's say it takes 3 days. Okay, let us make the all the cells are the date format cell date, then this much. So likewise, the second task, functional spec document. So let's say it start immediately after the business requirement document, and let's say it takes around 5 days. Let's assume it takes 10 days. Say in the first task is the pipeline creation for the data lake from data source to data lake. Let's assume it's 10 days. And as we move forward, the data engineers will get more experience and the time taken to deliver may be less. Same way, let us give the date for the other tasks. And now I will fast forward the activities. So now we have given the dates for each of the tasks. Okay. So now let us freeze the pane so that when we scroll down or scroll to the right, we are able to see the heading properly. So for this, we can go to the view and freeze pane and freeze pane. So when I go down, the heading is fixed, and when I go to the right, we can see the first 4 columns. Okay. So now let us plot the Gantt chart. We'll apply some formula to make it dynamic. Let us now create the Gantt chart. So for this, let us put the date here. So our project start date is week 1, which is 1st September. So I will apply the formula, which is equal to 1st September. And from week 2 onwards, we will add 7 days to the start date, which is 7 days. And now we can drag to the right until the last week of the project. So it's coming around 22nd December. So let us see the last week of the project here is 23rd December. So let us add one more week so that it comes under the Gantt chart. So I'll drag. Now to apply Gantt chart, we will be using conditional formatting and we'll apply the formula so that it is dynamic. So first select the area and then you can scroll down until the last task. We go to home and look for conditional formatting and new rule. use a formula to determine which cells to format. So now here we'll put two conditions. So we'll apply and select this date, 1st September, which should be equal to or greater than the start date, which is this, and it should also be less than or equal to 4 September. So basically the date which is the horizon which moves from left to right should be between the baseline start and end date, only then it will plot the color. So let us select the color from here, fill, and let me choose let's say this blue color. Okay, since we want to make it dynamic, and this date which is a horizontal date, which is a week date, it will move from left to right. So let us remove the dollar sign from front, and the baseline start and end date, which is denoted by column C and D, it will move from top to down. So let us remove here. So now you can see the Gantt chart has been plotted. Now if I change my dates, so it will change dynamically. Let us say my project starts on let's say 8th of September. So all the dates are changed here, and it also get changed. And let's assume that my baseline, my business requirement document takes some more time, so I can change 5 days here. I can say see that Gantt chart moves dynamically. Okay. So that is how we can create the project timeline for a data science project. Now, when it comes to tracking, when you start tracking, then you can add two more dates, which is the actual start date and actual end date. Okay, and then you can assign the resources against each of the tasks, and you can measure the progress in terms of percentage. Now to measure the progress, you can enter the percentage of completion of each of the tasks. Let's say the first is 80%, second is 60%, and let's assume that the third is 100% completed, and fourth is 0%. Now we can add the conditional formatting here. To add this, select the numbers from here and go to conditional formatting, select data bar, let us select the color orange. Okay. So say 70%. So if I change 100% to 70%, 80% become full color, which makes it looks like 100%, but we don't want like this. So what we can do, we can again select this one, go to conditional formatting, and we can go to more rules, and here the type from automatic we can select to number only, here also maximum to number only, and 0 to 1, that's it. So now the numbers are coming correctly here. So with this we have completed our timeline for the data science project.